Welcome, May 18th, 2023 to the Donald A. Russell Meeting Room. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, would you call the roll, please?
David Douglas,
Same here.
Marie Brilliant,
No notice.
Ruth Lyons,
Present.
Matt Nixon,
Present.
Roland Tufts,
Here.
and Town Manager Derek Spokchansky is also at the table. No notice from. Mrs. Rubin.
Well, I just double checked the two, quick.
Yeah, girl.
Alex, town manager report.
Welcome, everyone. Just a few reminders. Town meeting is still going to be held at Mount Ararat Middle School and Ryan Center on Tuesday, May 30th at 7 p.m. And next week on May 23rd at 6 p.m., town department heads will host a town warrant information meeting here in the meeting room. If anybody has any questions regarding the warrant. The Brunswick Topsham Memorial Day Parade will be held on Monday, May 29th, and the parade will begin at 9 a.m. The Public Works personnel are going to be putting the flags up, the POW flag, the new American flag along Main Street. So that'll be nice to see. And on May 22nd, we are welcoming Sky Salati, our new planner, to the Topsham team, and we're excited about having her.
Any questions? Boards, committee reports and updates. We got an update on Market Basket and Julie's not here, so Mark.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Waltz, Assistant Town Manager. And as the old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what you have in front of you is what's called the utility plan for the Market Basket. The diagonal line through the center of that, that's like outlined in purple, is our current public road, which, as you see, will be obstructed by a traffic circle. And then the area both to the northwest of it and the southeast of it, outlined in red, is additional land that's proposed to be given to the town. The road would be built on. So you can disregard the first paragraph of the memo that was in your agenda, because we had a further meeting today with the town attorney again and Market Basket. Initially, the town attorney's thought was, because we were taking additional road, we'd need to go through the road acceptance process. And he said, certainly if we were extending the road, that would be the case. But now looking at it, essentially, we're just moving the lanes over. So we're basically plowing the same thing as we were doing before. It's just going to be slightly different area. So what he's recommended, and he told Market Basket, is basically to allow them to build the road and get on track for doing their work on mid-June. We're going to have the following documents presented to you for your June 15th select board meeting. There's going to be deeds for the red area that would come for you to accept, which you have the power to do from some of the housekeeping items at last year's town meeting. You can accept gifts of land. There's going to be an agreement with Market Basket that if Market Basket is going to construct the land, construct the road upon both the new land and the existing town road to these specifications called for in the plans. And they're going to have an obligation to make sure it's done appropriately, as well as to give us as-built plans for the road after it's completed. Our hook, I guess, to make sure it gets completed is not only will be the agreement that they sign, but also they won't get their occupancy permit until they've complied with finishing building the road and given us the as-built plans. The next document you're going to see is Market Basket was told by the planning board, or worked out in arrangement with the planning board, that they're going to landscape the center of the island with flowers or vegetation, which needs water. So they're going to run a water line out to the island that they're going to pay for, but we're going to own, and they're going to maintain. And if for some reason Market Basket didn't exist, then all the property belongs to us. So it was originally proposed to be a permanent easement. The town attorney said he didn't want to give Market Basket an easement to do something on our property. He'd rather we kept control of the land. So this will be basically a landscaping agreement. And then the last thing is there's going to be agreements for stormwater that you can't see it on here, but the blue lines that go off the screen go to a pond that's going to collect stormwater. Market Basket is going to have the obligation to maintain the pond, But we would have the right to step in and get it done and then bill them if for some reason they didn't maintain the pond the way they should. So that's a little preview of what's to come in coming weeks, but that's the town attorney's recommendations and how we work out the construction of the traffic circle.
So us taking ownership of that water line, we're not taking ownership of the meter, either, though also are.
Market Basket is going to be responsible for supplying the water supply from,
Okay,
probably from their same fee to go to Market Basket, maybe a separate fee, I don't know.
okay. As long as we're not paying for
No.
the water flow.
We're not paying for the water.
Any questions from anyone? Further? Yeah, actually, so if this is moving on the time frame that we approved the other night, with the expected time frame, have we started or contacting the area businesses that things will be shut, you know, Home Depot's losing an entrance, and they're probably the only ones truly affected, I guess.
Based on the detours that we have going around that area, so I'll notify them.
Okay, yeah, because everyone else will have their normal access. Home Depot does, they're gonna, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next up, we got an update from the Rail Use Advisory Council, the RUAC, for the state-owned Lower Road Rail Corridor, Matt Nixon.
I'm gonna make this as long as possible.
Getting down.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dave. So I'm definitely here to give a brief update on the status of the Lower Road Rail Use Advisory Council, or RUAC, that was established last year. Well, enabling legislation with the state legislature passed, I believe it was 2 sessions ago. But if you all recall, we signed a resolution in January of 2022 that essentially said that we would like to move forward with joining this RUAC, provided it is either a multi-use trail or a multi-use rail and trail. And so that is what I've advocated for, and I'm here to give you an update tonight as to the direction that this process is clearly going. So we've been meeting once a month since November 2022. We did skip December because of the holidays. The statute that established the RUAC process gives each council 9 meetings to determine what to do with the lower road. And to be specific about what the lower road is, it's the tracks that go from Brunswick over the bridge, which, by the way, did anybody see that tanker car on the bridge the other day?
It was 2-3 weeks ago, there was probably 20 cars across that. Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
It is used.
Yeah.
Anyway, the rail goes from Brunswick all the way up to Gardner. And that is the rail that goes to Bodenham, up Topsham to Richmond. So, and in many places, the track is still there. In Topsham, we have one of the best crossings in the county because the state required that crossing, I believe it's on Tedford, to be wicked spot on in terms of up-to-date new technology, appropriate signals, and everything like that. So it's not like we haven't spent money on this stuff. Let's see. We did adopt a resolution. Those resolutions all went to the Maine Meeting Trail Board of Supervisors, which is a group of folks from each of the towns bordering that rail line. And the resolution that ultimately made it out of that board that went to DOT that initiated this process did not include the multi-use nuance. It was strictly trail. So that right off the bat, we're getting into a little bit of a problem. In light of that, what I have advocated for from the very start, and I made this very clear in our first kickoff meeting, is that our town supports either a multi-use trail or multi-use rail and trail. We won't support non-motorized or non-multi-use path through our town, if that's the route that we end up taking. Several of the advisory committee members own property or live directly adjacent to the railroad. And many of them have advocated quite passionately for a non-motorized use path only. So clearly there's a little bit of conflict here, and it's kind of aggravating, honestly. This is ultimately what's going to happen. During the course of the RUAC, it's become very obvious that DOT knew exactly what they wanted to do. I think I've explained it to some of you, but as a public servant, I mean, it's not your place to say one way or the other to an advisory committee what they should think, but you can certainly scare the crap out of them with costs or just these abstract ideas about how impossible something might be, and that will push the group in one direction. They recently did an economic draft analysis, looking at potential ridership. I'm not gonna hang up on this rail use too much because I'm very much interested in the multi-use bit myself. But just as an example, and what really sort of led me down this road of predetermination, they're using data from January 2022, which I don't know if you can see this, but this is ridership data, or excuse me, they're using ridership data from the Downeaster from January of 2022 as their basis for what they're estimating ridership might be for rail line. And you can see here, January 2022, if anybody remembers COVID going on, that was almost the largest spike in daily admissions to hospitals we had during the entire pandemic. So it's not exactly reflective of what would be an accurate ridership. I've suggested light rail, not Amtrak style, but light rail. They've provided DOT's consultant, VHB, has provided a restoration of light rail cost at $363 million. That's 11 million per mile on a 33-mile track. The Green Mountain Line extension in Vermont, which was just recently finished, so it's not like it was finished before COVID inflation, is 26 miles, and it clocked in at 1.3 million per mile. I don't really know what the difference is there, and I was dismissed on the last call by VHB for questioning their math. So I'm definitely going to bring this up again, but again, I'm not going to belabor this point on our next meeting because at this point, it's really not worth it. This is after I spoke with Vermont transportation officials. I gave them a call, did some basic math. I suggested we investigate the use of battery-powered light rail. DOT's response was that we don't have it in Maine, so we can't do it. Aside from how insanely backwards that statement was, it's about as patently false and grossly misleading as anything I've ever heard. At one point, Maine didn't have cars. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have internet. If you want to go back far enough, we didn't have oxygen or atmosphere. I mean, this is like, just because it's not here now, doesn't mean we can't have it in the future, but that's the response I received. That was the moment when I realized like, this is clearly going in a certain direction. So, my sole advocacy going forward is going to be for multi-use, at least on our section of the path. There's going to be significant pushback. We have folks like the East Coast Greenway. It's a very large national lobbying groups who are sitting in on these calls and pushing for a non-motorized, non-multi-use trail. And they're gaining traction. As the line is state-owned, there's not a whole lot we can do should the RUAC ignore a resolution, which up to this point they have. I think the only thing we can do is to ensure that the motorized use community shows up in force to upcoming public hearing, which is going to be next month, the requirement of the enabling RUAC legislation, and make it clear that the town will not support the maintenance or plowing, grading, or upgrades of future parking areas and crossings, which is something we do have control over, unless that path is open to everyone and not just a very small segment of our demographic. But I'm open to thoughts and suggestions from you folks. This is why I'm standing here. Because I racked my brain, and that's really the only thing I think we have control over at this point.
Matt, I wasn't prepared to give you ideas because I don't have it.
Don't worry.
But I certainly 100% support, and I said it, I believe the night that we signed on the resolution. I'm done signing off on just these paths for bikes and walkers. If we're gonna have paths that have other interests of a greater majority of people, I'm all for it. Our resolution clearly says just what you said it says, and I have no intention of changing my mind, so that's 20%.
Other thoughts? All right.
Things are still fluid.
Things are still fluid, yeah. There's a public hearing coming up, and Lord knows there's gonna be a lot of people there who are advocating for one thing or another. I guess this has happened all over. Whenever these RUACs get propped up, you typically have rail on one side and you have cyclists on the other, just butting heads, and that's sort of what's happening here as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think to me, I'm perfectly happy standing our ground that we do nothing to participate to assist them in any way if they just blatantly disregard what our town. And I don't care if that's picking up the phone and talking to a planner or thinking of something. Hang up on.
No.
That's all I got, folks. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Matt. You didn't be asked for questions. Public comment? So, anyone have correspondence? Nothing. Adjustments to the agenda, nothing. So on consent calendar, we were all given an update. So if we go to page 3 and 4, there's a couple things with fixing the address of a speaker. And then on page 4 is a sentence that 43 residents were in attendance in support of the housing project. If you remember, we had no idea why our book was jammed back. And that's what it was. So I will make a motion that we accept the amended minutes as presented to us this evening from May 4th, 2024.
Second.
Motion seconded, all in favor. 1, 2, 4. Let's flip her over. 23-49. Consideration and appropriate action to proceed with grant application for the ATV trail riders with the Bureau of Parks and Land for ATV trail improvements in Topsham. And what do we got?
Denny's here too. As some of you are aware, last year about this time, we were approached by the president of the ATV club asking us to go forward with a grant application. At that time, we hadn't done a lot of the homework, didn't know all the specifics, and didn't make the deadline. So that was part of the reason I didn't go forward. This year, we're much better educated. We've gone through the process. We've spoke with Brian Bronson from the state Bureau of Parks and Lands ATV division. The actual grant that you have that we're asking you to enable the ATV club to obtain is for a total of $45,115. 90% of that would be reimbursable from the state for $40,603.50. So we're looking at approximately between 4,500, 4,600 that is reimbursable labor or costs that the club would be responsible for, or our time in administering the grant. We've spoken with the club in regards to the process. They will actually make the improvements, pay the bills, provide us with the billing and payment proof. We'll submit it to the state as the state's responsible party, and the state will return the check to us and we'll reimburse them the amount. So there really isn't a liability as far as money on our side other than walking through the whole process. This is the first time we've done it. Derek and myself spoke with Brian Bronson from ATV. Many municipalities do it in different ways, but this was the option that we felt for the first time was most appropriate. So tonight, we're asking you to allow Derek to sign an agreement and to appoint myself as the project coordinator, and Jenny Little, who's the president of the ATV club, is here, and she'll be signing the application as well. Any questions of any of us?
Is there enough money to make sure we take care of the rail trail that we're gonna?
Might have to ask more.
I don't have any questions. Pretty straightforward. Anyone? Nothing? There we go. So, anyone else want to talk, or we good to go home?
Nope.
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to apply for a trail improvement grant from the Bureau of Parks and Lands for the state of Maine. Second. Motion seconded. All those in favor?
I got accused.
Okay, yeah,
Right back.
but it's 301. He's in the clock.
Gotcha.
Willow's dad, take us home.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Threw you off, didn't I? What was it?